What's going on, everybody? Feder here from 3D Print SOS, and welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, I'm going to be telling you how to quickly and easily install Klipper onto your Voxelab Aquila N32 machine, and hopefully use it with the Creality SonicPad machine. Hello, Reflection Feder. And Reflection Feder is going to hopefully help how to do this. So let's get started right away. And first things first, you're going to need the SD card from your machine. We're going to go ahead and grab that, and we're going to grab some sort of USB adapter. I'm just using one of these USB 2.0 adapters, and it's a really good idea to have a USB 2.0 adapter to the SD because you are going to have to plug it in to this port of the SonicPad. Now, I'm going to be doing some assumptions here in this particular video. I'm going to assume that you know what the SonicPad is and what it does, and I'm going to assume that you guys are interested in turning your machine into a Klipper machine with all of the benefits that you have with Klipper, not only just speed, but also the configuration, the expandability, so on and so forth. So let's just jump right back into us getting started. Alright, so I have here the Creality SonicPad plugged in. I have a USB cable ready, but it's not in the machine yet. I have a Voxelab Aquila machine running the latest Voxelab firmware on there. It's currently the OEM one. And when we go ahead and put in our SD card, we are going to want a couple things on there. So right onto the root of the SD, you're going to want to include this firmware folder. In the firmware folder is going to be a Klipper bin. This is going to be the software the firmware that actually installs onto your machine. Now keep in mind, you're going to be losing this screen. This particular screen will just turn black and it'll no longer work. That is actually how you know Klipper is installed, and that is one of the benefits of this large touch screen that you're getting from this Creality SonicPad. So that's just worth noting in case you didn't know. So that's the one thing you're going to need on your SD card. The second thing you're going to need to put on there is this printer configuration file. And this is essentially a file that I set up thanks to Prince Leo and Stas2Z from GitHub there for helping me big time with these things. I essentially just labeled these things to make them easier to understand, easier to get to if you really needed to, easier to modify something or to tune the machine. And then I also added an include for macros.cfg. Now if all this sounds alien to you, that's okay. This is probably the hardest, most complicated part of Klipper, and once you understand this, almost kind of like when you understand leveling, it goes from this really complicated thing that you can barely understand to something that you just do out of second nature. This is the similar thing. This particular document shows you every single pin, every single detail to this machine. It helps the firmware communicate with every hardware component of the machine. And the beauty of that is you don't have to recompile firmware anytime you want to make changes or tuning. You do it all in this Word document and just restart your machine, and it uses the updated document. So major benefit there. So back to this include here that says macros. That's the third file here. And this one you don't need to put on the SD. We're actually going to be dropping this in to the Klipper front end once Klipper is up and running. But macros, I set up a couple of things here. One of the main two things that are in here is the print start and the print end in here. And what this does is it tells the printer what to do every time you start a print and what it does every time you end the print. And the beauty there is you don't have to have these things in your slicer. You're no longer really bound. All you need to do is include what I added here in notes on the bottom to any slicer that you want. Some of them are going to need tweaks. You'll probably end up finding that in search. But all you're going to need to do is print start, extruder, and bed temp. And then it's going to pull in all of this information every time you start a print, your little line, your purge. Same with print end, except print end, all you literally need in your slicer is just print end. Like I said, if you're not familiar with Klipper, this might sound a little alien to you, but this unlocks you from a slicer. You could try all different slicers. You don't have to sit there and figure out what you need to put into your start configurations. It makes it a bit more universal, and you tweak it in one spot instead of in a bunch of different spots. So that is also very nice. It's a major benefit, at least for me, somebody that likes control of their machine. This is a major benefit of Klipper in general. So just to reiterate, you need the firmware folder with the bin file inside, and you need the printer configuration file on your SD. So from there, what we need to do is take that SD card, and we're going to have to put it into our printer. and we're going to turn it on, and that is going to flash Klipper. So let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to try to do everything live. As you can see, the screen got all messed up, and that's because it's installing firmware. We're just going to give it a couple of minutes, and then we're going to turn it off, and we're going to take the SD out of the machine. It's very likely installed already, but just in case, giving it a little extra time isn't going to play a big role. So that's likely done. I'm going to go ahead and undo the power here, and we're going to take out the SD card. And now the machine should be clipperized with that bin file. Let's go ahead and turn it on. And now it should turn on, but this screen should remain black, and it does. So just that easy, your machine is already running Klipper. It just needs the brains to tell Klipper what to do and connect it. And now that's where this pad comes in. That's where that printer configuration file comes in. So now let's go ahead and take our SD card, and we're going to keep it idle right next to here. And there's actually a couple ports that you need to be aware of. Technically, this machine, like I said, this pad can run up to 4 machines, but we're just going to do the first upper left one here. In our configuration file, it's actually set up for this one. So to hook up your printer, it comes with a bunch of cables and adapters. You're going to choose the right one for us, and we're going to go ahead and plug that in. Actually, we might not need to plug that in, but I'm doing it live as if this was one of our live streams. I've even used the live stream setup here. But essentially, we're going to need this top one plugged into our machine, and we're going to save our SD in our adapter to be able to plug it into the bottom one later. And we'll show you how. That's how it installs the configuration file. So let's go ahead and boot our Creality SonicPad here. I'm going to try my best not to be in the way. Essentially, what we're going to do is we're going to quickly set this up. I'll show you how to. I set this up before several times just in testing, just so that I understand the process, and it should be pretty quick to set up. Your first time, you might want to just take your time, make sure you're doing it correctly, but hopefully this video definitely helps. And I have the power kind of running underneath the printer right now, just so the cable isn't in the way. Now, while this thing is loading, another thing that I want to touch on is I'm not going to be doing any input shaping or linear advance or any kind of E-steps. All that stuff you want to do to get this printer tuned real nice. But right out of the box, without any changes, I was able to print at 100 millimeters per second really comfortably, and you can definitely make that much faster when you calibrate using the sensors. And if you guys are interested in and you've learned how to do this part, you've had Klipper on there for a little bit, let me know in the comments below if you guys want me to do the advanced tuning on this machine and see how far and how fast we can push it. Alright, so you're going to select your language. We're going to hit next step. Here you have to click that you've read all of this awesome text. And it actually forces you to wait a certain amount of seconds, and depending on what you're doing, it's going to take a little bit longer. Now, I know some parts are going to be blown out on the screen, but that's okay. I'll talk you through it. Alright, we're going to hit next here, and then we're going to choose our region. Now, one of the first times I turned this device on, I couldn't pick the region. It was kind of glitching out, and what I had to do was I had to go on the Creality website, I had to download the latest firmware, I put it into the SD card, and I updated it, and then I was able to go through this process. So just in case you run into the same issue I did, that was one of the things I had to do, but if you have one of the later ones, it looks like it's not going to have a problem. So here it's going to pick a Wi-Fi name. I'm going to go ahead and turn this and get mine put in here. Okay, and now that we've entered our Wi-Fi, you can see here now we have an IP address, and you might have to give it a second for that to appear. But essentially what you want to do is you want to type that IP address into your browser. We're going to go ahead and hit refresh on it, and you'll come up to this screen. This is going to be your Klipper front-end interface, and from here you can have all of your settings, you can home your machine, you can do everything. Right now, it's going to be having some limited function. However, what you want to do is go on the bottom here down to configuration, and here's where your printer config is going to live, as well as some other configuration files. This is where you want to drag that macros file before we have issues, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So first, let's just go ahead and drag it right here to the left side of the screen. It should take seconds to upload. It should already be in there. You can click it if you want and see if it pops up. There you go. Yep, that's our files that we have set up. And you are good to go in that front. And now you just want to go back to the front here and just wait here for a minute while we go back to the Creality pad itself. or SonicPad rather. Here we're going to hit next. Next step, it's going to be asking you for a name for the device. We're going to call it just Creality SonicPad. And here you want to choose your printer. We don't have a Creality machine, so we're going to hit Other Models. And then here it's going to ask for that configuration file, the main configuration file that we put on our USB adapted drive here. We're going to put that in and hit Next. It says the printer config is detected, file loaded. Yep, we're going to hit Loaded. And just so you know, it looked like for a second there it didn't load it up, but that is A-OK. So we're going to give it some time, and I can see in the corner of my eye there that the browser is refreshing. You're probably going to see that as well. There's no worries here. It should look like this. There you go. Loaded successfully. Congratulations on loading the file successfully. The device is about to perform a self-test, so we're going to hit OK. Yep, self-test. Let's go ahead and take care of that. And right now it is just going to ensure that the hot end fan is running. On this machine you can't turn off the hot end fan. Right over here in that screen. Let's go ahead and move the camera so you guys can see a little better. You can't actually change that behavior, so that is always going to be on. So in our case we're going to hit Next Step. And now it's going to turn on the cooling fan. And I hear it turning on. And it did. So we know that part is functioning perfectly fine. We're going to hit Next. Next step. Congratulations, everything is set up. We're going to hit Start Your Experience, and it's going to say System is preparing. So while that's happening, you can go back in your browser, hit Reconnect, and there we go. So a couple things happen here. This is pulled up. You can see that it was doing the self-test that started heating. Here you can see in the console. Whoops. Here you can see in the console everything that was going on kind of in order. One of the other beauties of this whole thing is that in the console towards the bottom there, my scrolling's kind of jacked up when I do this, so bear with me here. But here you can send G-code. Anything that you want in this type of machine you can communicate with here, but you can do fine-tuning like linear advance, things of that nature, E-steps, so on and so forth. It's kind of endless, which is very nice. But one of the first things I like to do is just hit Home. You know, you can always go up here and have your mouse over this, the emergency stop, just in case something isn't running correctly. But as you can see, the machine is going to Home. There we go. We're pretty much ready to go. One other things to note is this is now kind of your command center for the machine, and this is called Klipper Screen. Here you can do basic things. You can do moves, you can do preheating. Like for example, if we go here, we could set up a custom preheat. Like for example, I want the hot end to go to 200, and I want the bed to go to 60, and that's going to be what I'd like. And if you can see here on top, we have it asking for 60 for the hot bed and 200 from the actual hot end. And if we go to our front end, we should see now the graph coming up. And here's another place that you can ask for these things as well. So, like I said, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the Klipper front end or anything like that. I'm assuming that you guys know some of this stuff, but that is how you set up this machine. It is really easy and very quick once you have that bin file and the configuration files, and you can tune this thing from this point forward. There's a lot of advanced things you can do, but even at this point, without doing anything else, you should be able to go to your slicer, whether it's Cura, Prusa slicer, Orca slicer is really nice now. You can choose any of those, and as long as you just add in, here, let me go to that file right over here. As long as you add in this section from the macros, I kind of added notes on the bottom here. As long as you add those into the start and end G-code of any slicer, you should be able to do this. It's going to, home, it's going to wait for the temperatures, so on and so forth. Everything is here and ready for you, and you can tune it just like you would in Marlin, except all you have to do, instead of actually compiling firmware, once you make a change, is just hit save and restart. It's going to turn off Klipper, and it's going to just restart the machine, and there you go. Once those messages come back, it's now using the updated firmware. And then you can just go back to heating. For example, I want 200. I want 60 on the bed. there you go. You can get to this front end on your phone. You can get to this front end on pretty much any device that's on your home network that can reach that IP address. And you're off to the races. Guys, if you liked this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Obviously, if you didn't, go ahead and throw the other one too. You guys seem to know exactly where that button is. But mainly, let me know in the comments below if you want me to take this a step further, if you want me to show you how to use the included accelerometer that came with the device. There's also a lot of other things you can do to calibrate this machine to have it go faster. But so far, I printed this cube as a test, and this printed at 100, and it is a really good looking, in my opinion, cube. It actually looks worse in my lighting because I have a lot of overhead lighting and you can see the layers, but up close in real life, this is a very smooth cube for something with a Bowden, for something that's this inexpensive. So there you go, food for thought, a little bit of fun to be had with a device like this. And obviously you can disable the screen, you can unplug it, you can remove this, and now you have this station. And another major benefit is you can put up to 4 devices onto this easily. Alright, I think that's all for me. As always, thank you guys for watching. Check out some of the videos that are going to be popping up beside me here. And, well, I'll see you all in the comments. Later. What's going on, everybody? Feder here from 3D Print SOS, and I also have this cat. And she likes to hang out, apparently, and won't leave me alone, so we're here now. Okay.